Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. My name is Funmi Owolabi and I am the principal attorney at the firm. Today's review, we're going to be looking at some AI terms. So I'm just going to quickly look at the product. So we've got something related to human resources, finance and planning and IT management. Okay, so I'm interested in what type of personal data is going to be implicated because they've used the word employees and in which geographies. So something that's very unique about the data protection laws is there's specific nuances in some geographies related to processing of personal data related to employees. In some countries, it's far more strict how this processing can be done. Now, I'm not familiar with the entire tool, but that would be insight that I would obtain if I was counsel. I look for keywords, and if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you know that I talk about these keywords a lot because there's a lot of privacy implications for some of these keywords. I saw financial data. Financial data in the United States, at least, in most states, it's considered sensitive data. I actually don't know one state where financial data is not considered sensitive data. From a US perspective, there are potential federal, state implications and then industry implications when it comes to processing financial data because it's sensitive. In other geographies like the European Union, there are implications related to processing of employee data. Now, I see two things: AI companion and employee. So at a minimum, our AI review today is going to be looking at this from a lens of processing of employee information. Now, I don't know what it means by instant answers. I presume that this is based on the configuration of the customer. But if I was reviewing this from the supplier perspective, I would ask many questions about what is allowed to be input and what they anticipate is going to be a use case for their customers when it comes to instant answers. Instant answers about what? That would be a question that I would have. And in which geographies is the tool or product being sold? Because that'll implicate the types of responses and implicate the types of provisions that can exist in any one term. There's certain things that you wouldn't be able to require a customer to sign up in certain geographies based on what the data protection laws require there. Now, you might be wondering, why are we doing an AI review and why do you keep talking about privacy? Because we can already identify that there are data subjects. There are individuals here that are going to utilize this tool. Anytime we have individuals, we have personal data. And we've got the word AI in here. So which means that there's going to be usage of this AI companion by employees because they're getting instant answers. You see how I've been able to capture that just from these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. I've already made lots of presumptions about how this tool is going to work. Now, without a business filling out my intake form, I wouldn't know all of the specific details, but just from those 6 words, I'm able to make or form opinions about what might be in scope. Okay, let's look at AI terms. And these were last updated 2 years ago. We're now in 2026, so maybe this would need some type of review. It may be that the tool or the extent to which AI is utilized within those products has not changed. But I think it's important to do a periodic review of your terms if you're going to be distributing it to your customers. Capitalized terms used but not defined in these AI terms have the meaning set forth in your terms of service. So we can see here that not only is your privacy counsel going to need to review the AI terms, they'll also need to review the terms of service because there are terms that are not defined here that are in the terms of service, and they could implicate the review of this provision. Let me just scroll down and see if there's any definitions. I really enjoy definitions because I think it helps with the legal review process that is done on AI terms generally without having to look at a different document. But every organization rolls out their privacy and AI compliance differently. As used in the AI terms, Humaans AI means the features and functionality of the services made available to you that utilize generative artificial intelligence modes. Now, for a fact, we know that AI is going to be implicated for this product. Instant answers for employees. I can't tell from the other ones, but for this one, I definitely can. So at a minimum, this instant answer is going to be one of the services that uses generative artificial intelligence. You may provide or make available prompts, data, text, or other input to be processed by human AI and receive data generated and returned by Humaans AI based on your input. Now, I presume the definition of input and output is contained within the terms of service. We're actually going to open it and take a quick look. So this was updated 6th of June 2025. And I think this is very interesting. I had talked a little bit about updating this periodically. What's interesting is that the terms of service has been updated 6th of June 2025, but the AI terms hasn't been updated since 25th of October 2024. Now, the question I would have if I was counsel is, why were the terms of service updated but not the AI terms? Surely, since there's a correlation between both documents, they should be reviewed and updated at the same time to make sure that they're now consistent. So that would be my first question. Now, that's not a privacy question, but because we know that there are going to be users, and I presume that whatever has changed here, look, they've got the previous term. So we can actually, if I had more time, if you would be interested in me doing a comparison between the old terms and the new terms, leave a comment below and I definitely will consider it. So we can find the previous terms here. And what I could do, right, if I was their privacy counsel, is I would look at the changes that were made to these new terms of service. And I would reconcile the new terms of service, the changes that have been made, and see if there are any provisions within these AI terms that need to be adjusted. These documents are read together. So if there are any privacy terms that have been updated here, but are not reflected in the AI terms, then we have an issue, right? Because it could be the customer is agreeing to conflicting terms depending on the changes that have been made. Now, I don't know that for sure, but I'm just saying the level of diligence that a supplier needs to do when it comes to their privacy program, it needs to be kept current so that there are no disputes in the end. That's what we try and avoid as lawyers, right? Even from a privacy compliance standpoint, you're always trying to avoid disputes potentially with customers, an investigation by a regulator. There's always a consequence for not maintaining your compliance program. You can't just do a privacy program and forget about it. There's so many things that require you to constantly have it evolving. And that's why a lot of my reviews, you'll see, I always look for this date. I came to this because I wanted to see the definitions of input and output to see if they've discussed personal data. So they talk a bit about the data protection they talk a bit about data protection, which is what we do at the firm. They've also got the data processing addendum. It seems like this organization has all of their legal contractual instruments on the public facing website. Even though this is an AI review, I just want to see the date on this one. So again, this one hasn't been updated since July 2024. So all of these documents read into one another. So when you have your privacy counsel review and draft these, do you now understand why your privacy counsel is also going to need to review the terms of service? And from reviewing the terms of service, we now recognize that the AI terms are included. So let's talk about from the customer's perspective. Not only do you need to distribute the data processing agreement or data processing addendum to your privacy counsel, any contractual document that could have privacy implications need to be reviewed. So it's not as easy as being like, I want to go back to the AI terms. I was hoping we could get the definition of input here, but I don't yet see it. And that's so interesting. So the definition isn't here as well. It might exist here. Let's scroll down. Yeah, I also don't see it here, which is interesting because it says here, capitalized terms used but not defined in the AI terms have the meaning set forth in your terms of service. So I just scrolled to the terms of service and you can see this one is capitalized, input, output. But when we go to the terms of service, there is no definition. I'm going to search it. I'm very intrigued. Wow, that's so interesting. Do you see that? And this is why, this is the last time I'll say it, but this is why it's so important to reconcile your documentation. Because what you're alluding to here is capitalized terms used but not defined in the AI terms have the meaning set forth in your terms of service. But when we review the terms of service, there is no definition. And this one has been updated in 2025. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you want me to do the full AI terms in another video, I will. I didn't expect to go through all of the contractual documentation, but I think the value in watching this particular video is seeing just how widespread privacy is and also give you a bit of insight into what a privacy lawyer does. I'm actually hoping to do a whole video about what it is that I do because my YouTube channel is essentially dedicated to looking at what the privacy posture is of businesses generally and giving like commentary. But I think businesses might find value in just having at least a call with a privacy counsel. Maybe you do have a privacy program. Maybe you have a privacy program that's not mature, but you want it to be more mature. Understanding exactly what it is that we do would be valuable. And I'm hoping to do a video like that on the channel where it won't be these reviews and opinions that I give. But I hope you enjoyed this particular review. If you like this content, subscribe and I will see you in another one.